who's going to be champion by the end of 2025? Now, since it's the new year, a lot of you guys are probably wondering, who's going to keep their strap? Who's going to remain champion for the whole year? Now, a lot of these weight classes now are super competitive to where anybody in the top 5 can really be champion. So, today we're going to be breaking down who I believe is going to be champion by the end of 2025. So we're going to start out with women's strawweight and up. For women's strawweight, I got Zhang Weili. I believe she's going to remain champion for the whole year. So, the way I see Zhang Weili, here's the best way I can describe her, in my opinion. I kind of see her as like a Valentina Shevchenko, sort of. Someone who's that dominant to where they can remain champion, you know? And I know at one point Alexa Grasso was the champion, but it's just like, Valentina's still dominant, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's still like a staple champion. She has a lot of title defenses under her belt. And I just believe Zhang Weili is literally the same. Not when it comes to term of like striking or whatever, but just like how dominant she is. So I believe no one else can really compete with her. Her last fight was really good against Yan Xiaonan. So I believe she's gonna keep the strap in 2025. For women's flyweight, I got Valentina Shevchenko. Like I said, she's a dominant champion. She proved it in the fight against Alexa Grasso the third time. I don't know. That was a pretty good series, in my opinion. But Valentina's so dominant to where she could have won all 3 of those fights. You know, she could have beat Alexa Grasso 3-0 if she wanted to. And I like Alexa Grasso. I think she's a good fighter. But I'm not going to sit here and BS me like, yeah, you know, there's someone who can really beat Valentina like that, which I'm not saying there isn't, but nobody's seen it yet. You know, Valentina is so skilled to where I believe she might remain champion until she retires. So that's just my opinion. I believe she's one of those guys or girls, my bad, where she can show her dominance in every single fight. I feel like she's kind of like who's a really good comparison. Let me say, she's like the women's version of Mighty Mouse. Some of you guys might disagree, but she's the women's version of Mighty Mouse, okay? She's that dominant. She might go down as one of the greatest women fighters of all time. So, I believe she's going to keep her strap in 2025. For women's bantamweight, I got Kayla Harrison. Now, ever since Kayla Harrison came to the UFC, I think she fought Holly Holm in her debut. But my goodness, man, she's good. She's like really good. Well, no, never mind. She beat Holly Holm in her debut, and then she forgot who she fought afterwards. But dude, she's good. And honestly, this might be a hot take, but I feel like there's more skilled women outside of the UFC than there is in the UFC. And like I know there's Valentina and freaking Zhang Weili, but like Kayla Harrison, dude, she's undefeated, first off, right? She's never lost. I think she's like 18-0. She was like a 2-time, 3-time PFL champion. And yeah, no, I'm not saying like I'm not saying she's like the best, right? I'm not saying that at all. I just feel like she would be the one to beat Juliana Pena, you know? I just feel like she poses a major threat towards her. Especially with her being like, I think she was like a gold medal in judo or something. And she got hands too. I just feel like Kayla Harrison, I feel like everybody already knew Kayla Harrison would be champion eventually. Which I think she will be by the end of this year. I feel like if she wins her next fight, and then she'll get the title shot, I feel like she's gonna make it look a lot easier than what y'all think. I'm not saying the fight is not gonna be hard against Juliana. I just think Kayla Harrison is gonna make it look easier than what you guys think it's gonna be. So I feel like that's the girl who's gonna be taking the strap at bantamweight. And yeah, that's who I got. All right, for flyweight, I got Joshua Van. Now don't fucking butcher me here, okay? Let me explain. I feel like Joshua Van will be champion by the end of the year, and here's why. One, I feel like Pantoja's probably going to have like 1 or 2 more fights and then he'll retire, right? I feel like, he's like maybe 37, 36, which is kind of old for flyweight division, A lot of guys don't really make it past that age, I guess, but Pantoja's just different. And here's why I feel like Joshua Van has an opportunity to become champion by the end of the year, right? One, if Pantoja retires this year, right? That's going to leave the door open for some more contenders to fight for the title. Okay? 2, Joshua Van in 2024 had 4 fights. Okay? He was active as fuck, bro. He was active. He was super active. So, hear me out. Let's say Pantoja retires this year. Okay? And Joshua Van keeps building up his fights, keeps winning and stacking up his dubs. His last performance against Cody Durden was crazy. I love Joshua Van. He's probably my personal favorite in the flyweight division. But I'm not trying to be a bandwagon here, okay? I do feel like he's that skilled to where he can be champion one day. His hands are crazy. His boxing skills are so crisp, and his grappling has evolved so much since he started in the UFC. I truly feel like he can beat at least 2 or 3 guys in the top 5 right now. Okay? So I feel like he has a chance to be champion at the end of the year if everything plays out, like Pantoja retires or whatever. He might even have a chance to beat Pantoja, whatever. But that's who I got for champion in flyweight at the end of 2025. My goodness. But yeah, that's who I got. Okay, for bantamweight, I got Merab Dvalishvili to remain champion at the end of 2025. Now, this might be a little bit of an early prediction because he is fighting Umar, which, my prediction could change. I just really haven't looked into that fight that well. I know how good Umar is, but I also know how good Merab is, okay? And I've been saying this, right? I'm not taking any credit away from Islam, Khabib, or anybody else like that, okay? But if you look into it, right, none of those guys really faced another grappler or wrestler or whatever you want to call it. Now, you guys might be like, okay, well, Khabib fought Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje was an All-American at Northern Colorado for the ones who know his wrestling credentials. But Justin Gaethje doesn't use his wrestling, okay? Same thing with Islam, dude. Who did he fight other than Volkanovski? Volkanovski wasn't really a wrestler either, bro. He was a rugby player. And I know he was a national champion in wrestling or whatever. But that's Australia. Australia doesn't really have good wrestlers. I don't know. I could be biased. But whenever you see someone like Merab do something like that to Henry Cejudo, who is legitimately a gold medalist in wrestling, and yeah, a lot of you guys will be like, well, Aljo took him down too or whatever, but okay, Aljo is also a wrestler for the ones who don't know. I think he was like NAIA or JUCO or something like that. But he's also a 3rd-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Think about it if wrestling had belts. What would Henry Cejudo be in wrestling? Like, what belt would he be in wrestling? He'd probably be the same thing. My point is that Merab out-wrestled Cejudo, okay? And outstruck Cejudo, I'm pretty sure. I just feel like Merab is going to beat Umar in this fight. I'm not saying Umar's grappling won't pose a threat to Merab. I'm not saying that Merab's going to run through Umar. I'm just saying I think Merab will be champion by the end of 2025. Whether that's if Umar beats him and they get the rematch, Merab beats him in the rematch, or whatever. I just feel like Merab is that good of a fighter and that good of a wrestler. I think he's really dominant in the way his style is, how he pressures them, and and the takedowns, and he's all gas, no brakes. I just think that's perfect for that division, and I just think he does it the best. So I just feel like anybody who he fights is going to have an issue with it. But yeah, that's who I got for my predictions to be champion by the end of 2025 in bantamweight. Okay, my predictions for champion at featherweight at the end of the year is Diego Lopez. Whether that's Ilya moves up to 55 and beats Islam or whatever, or if Diego Lopez just puts it on Ilya, okay? And I believe he can. Yeah, I get it, dude. I get that, like, Ilya's undefeated, and he literally said what he was going to do to each fighter. But if you look back at his fight against Jai Herbert, yeah, I know he knocked him out or whatever. Ilya has issues fighting taller guys, okay? And I get Max was taller than him, and that wasn't an issue for Ilya. But I've been saying this about Diego Lopez. I feel like Diego Lopez is the dark horse of that division. And if you guys didn't see my short the other day that I posted, Diego Lopez is in camp right now, and he does have a fight booked, I feel like, because he posted it on his Instagram right here. I think he's fighting a Movzar again, which means, you know, he's in training camp at Oklahoma State, training with their wrestling team. Which, who else could he be fighting, dude? Honestly, I think he's getting that Movzar rematch, and I think he's going to smoke him. I still feel like he's going to smoke him, and I feel like he's going to be champion by the end of this year. That doesn't change anything. But let me get back to this point. Ilya has issues fighting taller guys. I feel like if he fought Diego Lopez, I don't know if he'll finish him. He has a really good chance of doing so. But I just feel like his style, how he's a pressure fighter, just like Ilya. I feel like the way he fights is aggressive, which is probably perfect style against Ilya. I just feel like his style would pose a threat to Ilya's style, you know. Yeah, Max is more of like he'll sit there and wait for opens, or he'll wait for like open shots and stuff and try to be very, very like cautious or whatever. But from what we've seen of Diego Lopez is just like he's not scared to get into any sort of exchange with anybody. It's kind of entertaining watching him fight. I feel like at some point, like I said, whether that's Ilya moves up to 55 for double champ status, or if he stays at 45 and fights Diego Lopez, I think Diego Lopez is coming on top regardless. Now, a lot of you guys are going to be out there disagreeing with me, but just wait till he does so. Come back and watch this video and put down in the comments that, hey, you were right. Because I'm that confident in Diego Lopez. But that's enough said. I feel like he's going to be champion by the end of the year. Now, this prediction could also be considered as another early prediction or whatever, because these guys are also booked to fight. The guy who I believe will be champion by the end of the year at lightweight is Arman Tsarukyan. Okay? If you look back at the last fight that him and Islam fought, Arman fight him on a short notice. You know what I'm saying? And I get both these guys have evolved since then. But I feel like Arman has gotten a lot better since then, and Islam's gotten a lot better since then. But I do believe that Arman beat him that time, and that was on a short notice. So we'll see what goes on in this fight. My prediction's not going to change. I do believe Arman's going to beat Islam, and I do believe he's going to remain champion for the remainder of the year. I just feel like he's that good, and no one knows it yet. So that's my predictions for who's going to be champion by the end of the year at 155. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Alright, we had to switch locations. I'm at work right now. I'm about to go in. But the guy who I got becoming champion at the end of the year at welterweight is Jaquan Buckley. Now, this might seem random to you guys, but this dude's been on a freaking tear, dude. I don't know. There's just guys who, you know, will either move up or move down in a weight class. and just go crazy. I don't know, just go on an insane winning streak. Jaquan Buckley, dude, like, I don't know. I always thought he might be something at welterweight after his few fights, but especially since his last performance against Wonderboy, I'm like, dude. This guy is freaking crazy. And it's just like, the reason why I feel like he could beat a lot of these guys and potentially be champion is just like the way his build is. I don't know. It's just like he's short and explosive and he's stocky. And like, after seeing what he did to Wonderboy, I feel like anybody that he could be matched up with would just be, I feel like he has a chance of beating anybody in that weight class. And the reason why is just like, stylistically, I'm not saying like everybody fights like Wonderboy, but like, for example, like Leon Edwards, he's a stand-up guy, you know what I'm saying? He has good stand-up and he mostly likes to fight on the feet. I just feel like if Buckley were to fight anybody like that, bro, he got it. He has it, you know? I feel like, now, yeah, I feel like maybe fighting someone like Shavkat would be harder, and he could lose that fight, but I don't know. I just feel like he's real nasty when he's fighting at welterweight. So I don't know. That's who I got as champion at the end of the year for 170. So let me know what you guys think about that one. It might be a little weird, but hear me out. Okay, at middleweight, I got Khamzat Chimaev to be champion by the end of 2025. So, okay, so I guess technically Robert Whittaker was his very first middleweight fight, and not his first fight at middleweight, but like his first time fighting an actual middleweight guy, unless you count Kevin Holland as like an actual middleweight. But I will say his performance against Robert Whittaker was very, very dominant, I would say. How he just went out there against Robert Whittaker, who arguably has one of the best takedown defenses in the middleweight division, and just to see Khamzat ragdoll him like that and then break his jaw or dislocated it or whatever he did to make him submit to him. But like, that just shows you how strong that dude is. It's just like, even at like middleweight, like whenever he fought at welterweight, he was just like a weight bully. But like, his strength translates super well from welterweight to middleweight. It's just like nothing changed. So it's really interesting to see. It's like, I can definitely see him beating Drakus and Sean without a doubt. Like with him, and I like both of them. I like Drakus and I like Sean. I think they're both entertaining fighters and they're really good. But none of these guys have really good wrestling. Like, it's just like, dude, here's what I'm saying. I think eventually Bo Nickel is going to become champion, but not in 2025. Let's just say that right now, okay? We saw his fight against Paul Craig, you know, and I'm not hating on the dude, you know, I understand. But Khamzat Chimaev, well, I think will be champion first, and then later on down the road, I think it's going to be Bo's turn, but not right now. I just think in a hypothetical matchup between either Sean and Khamzat or Khamzat and Drakus, I think Khamzat comes out with submissions early on in the fights in either matchup. I feel like none of these guys have like the answer for Khamzat right now. I just think Khamzat is super aggressive. He's this unstoppable force that like can't be like messed with, I guess. I don't know. He's just very, very aggressive, and I just don't think any of these guys can really handle it. So, at light heavyweight, you guys are gonna freaking hate me for this, but I got Magomed Ankalaev to be champion by the end of the year. And the reason why I say this is because, one, dude, it's like, a lot of you guys clown on Magomed because you think he's a boring fighter, or, you know, he's not that good or whatever. It's not that, dude. It's just that this guy is a wrestler, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, the light heavyweight division doesn't really have wrestling depth, I guess, if that's the right words for it. But what I'm trying to say is that we saw Jan Blachowicz, you know, against Alex Pereira in his debut at light heavyweight. And we all know Jan Blachowicz is, you know, mainly a grappler or whatever. But he's not a Dagestani wrestler or whatever. Like, he doesn't have the grappling skills like Magomed does. And Magomed hasn't really been able to show off his grappling skills. And, I mean, from what I know. But I definitely feel like he would definitely use his grappling against Alex Pereira. I mean, that's probably be the smartest choice, you know. Probably the smartest game plan to fight him, because ain't nobody want to stand up with Alex Pereira. But I do feel like if they were to fight, if this fight did get booked, I could definitely see in a world where Magomed comes out with the win, whether that's by submission, TKO, unanimous decision, split decision, whatever. I can see him winning the fight, and I'm not saying I'm a big fan of him by any means. I'm just trying to be realistic here. You know, wrestling is probably the background that dominates in the MMA. I'm just saying, especially in the UFC. At one point in time, most of the champions had a wrestling background, and I'm sure there's like Merab, wrestler, freaking. Ilya Topuria, I mean, he's a wrestler background originally. Islam, freaking Bilal, yeah. So, freaking John Jones, you know, he wrestled. So, I'm just saying, like, wrestling dominates in MMA. It's obvious. And I feel like if Magomed were to get his hands on Alex Pereira, he's taking him down, he's keeping him down. So, I know that sounds boring, but that's probably what would happen. So, let me know what you guys think. Alright. Finally. My predictions for who will be the heavyweight champion at the end of 2025. Drum roll, please. Tom Aspinall. I'm just saying. I definitely feel like Tom Aspinall would beat John Jones if they were to fight. And I'm not saying I don't know, dude. I just think Tom Aspinall's too big. One, he's freaking fast as hell. He's good everywhere. I don't know. I just feel like he'd win the fight. That's all I really gotta say. And I'm not saying, like, yeah, we saw his performance against Cyril Gane. You know, I'm not taking anything away from him, whatever. But it's like, dude, he beat up some, like, old Stipe, some old busted up Stipe who literally was coming off a freaking knockout loss against Francis Ngannou. I'm just saying, like, and that was years ago. So it's like, him and Tom Aspinall, they have to fight this year, dude. There's no way that they don't. It's just, I believe that Tom Aspinall will win. I'm not saying it'll be easy for him. I just think, one, John Jones is naturally a light heavyweight. You know, his last fight, he said that he was struggling to stay at like 230 something. You know, like he was getting down pretty low. So I don't know. And Tom Aspinall is like probably walks around at like 270, 280. I'm just saying, like, he's naturally a bigger guy, and he's an actual heavyweight. So I feel like one, he can either beat John Jones by knockout, like him like just completely killing him, or he might edge out like a decision win. But like, I don't know, dude. These judges have been biased as hell this last year, so I don't know how it could go. I just think, hypothetically, Tom Aspinall's winning that fight. So that's all I really got to say about that. So I believe he's going to be champion at the end of the year for heavyweight. But I think that's going to be it for this video, you guys. Let me know what prediction y'all agreed with the most, or what made the most sense. and then let me know which one you guys thought was the craziest take. So that's what I'm here for. That's all I really gotta say. But y'all stay tuned for my next videos coming out. I want you guys to put on that post notification, like this video for more content like this, and just stay posted. Peace.